There are a lot of pop psychology terms that people throw around. People talk today about mental health more than they ever did. And also, I find as a clinical psychologist that people are more aware of their mental health issues and their relationship issues more than they ever have been before. Well, one word that gets thrown around a lot is the word codependency or codependent. And actually, I believe that these terms are extremely important because they do describe what a lot of people suffer from, which is codependency. Having a relationship with someone that is too fused, that is too enmeshed, where there isn't a clear boundary, where there is a degree of over dependence on that person to the point that if this is you, for example, you really can't feel true peace of mind or true kind of serenity inside yourself with such extreme codependency. You really can't be at peace, really can't feel whole until you are with that person, or you're just spending all of your time anticipating when you're going to be reunited with that person. There is such a fusion there that really a person can lose themselves in this kind of a relationship. Here's one of the main dangers of being in a codependent relationship. Not only can you lose yourself, there is a tremendous amount of anxiety that you feel. You may not even feel when you think about this person or this relationship, you may not think to yourself that this is the cause of a lot of anxiety. But the truth is, there is always this undercurrent of anxiety that really kind of rules your life. One of the most important consequences that I have seen with codependency in my work as a psychologist, and I've been a psychologist for over 20 years, is that people who have a codependent relationship, what they are really doing is they are simply postponing loneliness. They are really postponing the feeling depressed, alone, and isolated that usually will come anytime anyone over depends on a person to that extent. Typically, sooner or later, there is a time when there isn't that same fusion. There isn't that same sense of being joined at the hip that that person is always with you. And so an individual can over depend on a person and can try to spend all their time with that person, really can kind of exist with that person almost as if they lose themselves completely. But the problem is when the loneliness comes, it will be bigger. It often will be deeper. It will actually, because it has accumulated over time, become even more intense. And what actually ends up happening a lot of times is the person comes to realize that to some extent, we as individuals need to learn to be okay on our own, by ourselves to some extent. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't always have relationships. It doesn't even mean that we can't live with people. We certainly can live with people. We can have close relationships. But individuals who have healthy relationships, there is not this fusion. There are clear boundaries. There is the sense for each person that they can be okay on their own. It is really a good practice, for example, to have some alone time for people. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that anybody needs to go spend hours and hours doing solo activities. But practicing some activities on your own is a really helpful way to self regulate, to keep your mood in a balanced place. And actually, if you look at some of the most helpful research backed ways to self regulate, like meditation, a lot of times that meditation is done in quiet. It can be done solo, or it can be done even in a room with other people. But there is the sense of getting to retreat to your internal world, to a quiet place where you can gather and observe your thoughts as you experience them. It is a really good practice, too, for people to engage in some extracurricular activities that they can engage in on their own. This sort of internal retreat is a way that people can reflect, that people can even become aware sometimes of their feelings. A lot of times in our daily lives, there is so much stimulation. Believe it or not, we can lose track, honestly, with how we even feel sometimes. We can sometimes find over a period of time of just being too stimulated. So, if you are someone who has found yourself in a codependent relationship, ask yourself, are you feeding enough your internal individual life? Again, this doesn't mean that you can't have close relationships, but if you don't feed your individual life, if you don't nourish it, if you don't spend quality time on your own, then a lot of times what you're doing is you are postponing some of the loneliness that will inevitably come when you depend on another human being to that extent. You can put yourself in a really precarious position. Sometimes codependency can almost function like an addiction when you are so addicted to being connected, extremely connected to another person, that when you don't feel that same sense of complete and utter connection, you can start to feel like something is wrong. And when we feel that something is wrong, what it means is deep down, we feel anxiety. I have found in my clinical work that codependency rides right alongside anxiety. And anxiety does take a toll. Anxiety takes a toll on us emotionally, spiritually, even physically. Sometimes it's not until years later, after just keeping codependent relationships alive day after day, week after week, month after month, that you can actually find that you have taken a toll on your own physical body, that your central nervous system has noticed that degree of fusion and anxiety anytime there is some sense of separation. So, I hope this has been helpful and gotten you thinking. Becoming aware of codependency is one of the first steps to actually changing, to becoming more whole. The next step, of course, is taking inventory of what solo time you have where you can have an internal sense of retreat. All right. I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist, everyone. You can also check out hundreds of other videos that I have here on my YouTube channel, Dr. Seth, psychologist.